The Science of Mind by Ernest Holmes. Chapter 7. Summary of Part 1. The Nature of Being. There is a universal presence that acts as though it were intelligent, and we may assume that it is. There is a universal intelligence acting as law. We may also assume this to be true. There is a formless stuff in the universe, forever taking form, and forever changing its form. This we may accept as being self-evident. We have every reason to postulate a threefold nature of the universal being, which we shall call spirit, soul, and body. We shall think of spirit as the great actor, soul as the medium of its action, and body the result of its action. We shall think of spirit as the only conscious actor, the power that knows itself. We shall think of soul as a blind force, obeying the will of spirit, and we shall think of body as the effect of spirit, working through law to produce form. We shall assume that neither law nor the stuff from which the form comes has conscious intelligence, but must, because of their nature, be formed by the word. This simplifies the whole matter and enables us to see that in the entire universe, one power alone really acts: the power of the Word of Spirit, God, or universal conscious intelligence. The evolution of man brings him arbitrarily to a place where true individuality functions. From that day, a further evolution must be through his conscious cooperation with reality. All nature waits on man's recognition of and cooperation with her laws, and is always ready to obey his will. But man must use nature's forces in accordance with her laws, and in cooperation with her purpose, which is goodness, truth, and beauty, if he wishes to attain self-mastery. Man never creates, he discovers and uses. Through this method, all sciences are evolved. We live in a universe of law, through which runs a spirit of self-knowing intelligence. All's love, yet all is law, mused Robert Browning. The law has done all it can automatically do for man. It has evolved him to a point of individuality, and must now let him alone to discover the secret of life for himself. Man is potentially perfect, but free will and self-choice cause him to appear imperfect. In reality, all he can destroy is some particular embodiment of himself. The divine spark is always intact in potential man. Man awakes to self-consciousness, finding himself already equipped with a mentality, a body, and an environment. Gradually he discovers one law of nature after another, until he conquers his environment through his knowledge of the nature of those laws. Everywhere he finds that nature does his bidding, insofar as he understands her laws and uses them along the lines of their inherent being. He must first obey nature, and she will then obey him. Man discovers his ability to think and realize that from within there comes a reaction to his thought. He can think consciously, and mental law acts upon his thought, and his physical body is affected by his thinking. He next discovers that he can think for others, causing a corresponding action in and through their bodies. In this way, he discovers a mental medium through which thought operates. He now realizes himself to be a thinking center in a universal mind. Man next discovers that his affairs are primarily a thing of thought, and that being able to think for others, he can also aid in the control of their affairs. He now realizes that everything in the visible world is an effect, that back of all effects are ideas, which are the real cause of these effects. The divine ideas are perfect, but man's freedom of individuality causes them to appear imperfect. Through right thinking, he is able to uncover the appearance of imperfection and reveal the perfect idea. Behold thou my face forevermore. Man's idea of deity evolves with his other ideas. After a belief in many gods, he comes to realize there is one mind and one spirit back of all manifestation. One spirit, or self-conscious light, acting through the medium of one mind or subjective law, producing many manifestations. Multiplicity comes from unity without breaking up the unity of the whole. Spirit is self-knowing, but law is automatic and obeys the will of spirit. Having no alternative other than to obey, like all law, the law of mind is an impersonal force, and because of its nature it is compelled to act. Soul and universal subjective mind have the same meaning, and are the creative medium of all thought and action. Soul is also the substance of spirit, the unformed stuff, from which all forms are evolved. Spirit, acting upon soul, produces creation. Spirit, soul, and substance intersphere each other, each being omnipresent. Creation takes place within spirit, and is the result of the contemplation or the self-knowingness of spirit. Creation is eternally going on. Change is always taking place within that which is changeless. Forms appear and disappear in a medium which of itself is formless. Spirit thinks or knows within itself, and as a result of this interaction, creation manifests. Creation is the play of life upon itself through divine self-imagination. Spirit must create in order to be expressed. Spirit, life, soul, substance, law, and unity are all coexistent and co-eternal with each other. The only thing that changes is form. Spirit makes things out of itself by becoming the thing it makes. There is no effort in the process. Conscious mind and spirit have the same meaning, that part of reality which is self-knowing. Subconscious and subjective mind, soul, and mental medium, universal subjectivity and law, all have the same meaning, that part of reality which acts as law. Body, creation, or the manifest universe, is the result of spirit acting through law. Body, creation, or the manifest universe is a result of the knowingness of spirit. Spirit alone is self-conscious. Law and manifestation are automatic reactions to spirit. Soul, or subjective mind, substance, or unformed stuff, and conscious spirit permeate all things and all people. There is an intelligence acting through everything, and everything responds to this intelligence. It cannot be too plainly stated that spirit, or conscious intelligence, is the only self-assertive principle in the universe. Spirit is the power that knows itself, and is the only power that is self-knowing. Everything else is subject to spirit. The sole and only operation of spirit is through its word, acting as law through substance, producing creation. Man reenacts the divine nature on all three planes. He is self-knowing in his conscious mind, creative through his subconscious reactions, and he has a body. He personifies the Trinity of being. He is the Son within the Father. The Father is greater than the Son, but the Son has the same life essence as has the Father, or parent mind. Real man is in an eternal state of complete unity with the whole. His conscious mind is his understanding of God. His subjective mind is his use of the universal creative medium, and his body is one with the body of reality. There is but one mind in the universe, and man uses it. Man is an identity in the universe, a center of God consciousness. At first he is ignorant of this and misuses his power, consequently bringing on himself misfortunes and negation. The spirit of man, which is his self-knowingness, is the only part of him which has volition or self-choice. All else acts as automatic law. Man's conscious thought, acting through law, may change any condition in his experience, provided he can clearly conceive of such conditions being changed. There is no limit to the law. Limitation is not inherent in the law, but is a result of man's inability to embody the truth and constructively use the law. Man has at his disposal, in what he calls his subjective mind, a power that is limitless. This is because he is one with the whole on the subjective side of life. There is but one mind and one law, which all people use, consciously or unconsciously, constructively or destructively. One spirit, one mind, one law, one substance, but many forms. There is one ultimate reality, but within this one are many experiences. Man is within the one and draws from it all of his experiences. As man thinks, he subjectifies thought and sets law in motion through the medium of the universal mind. This law works automatically until it is consciously changed. To learn how to think is to learn how to live, for our thoughts go into a medium that is infinite in its ability to be and to do. Man is using a power which is infinite, as compared with the power of his conscious thought. Great as the subconscious is, its tendency is set in motion by the conscious thought, and in this lies the possibility of and the pathway to freedom. Freedom and bondage, sickness and health, poverty and riches, heaven and hell, good and bad, big and little, happiness and misery, peace and confusion, faith and fear, and all conditions which appear to be opposites are not really a result of the operation of opposing powers, but are the way the one power is used. We are bound because we are first free, and the power which binds is the only thing in the universe which can free us. Man already has within himself the key to freedom, but he must come to realize his relation to the whole. This relationship is one of complete unity. End of chapter 7. And this is also the end of part 1 of the book. So, to summarize part 1, we are talking about the nature of being and our relationship to the whole. Now, it's crucial that we understand our relationship to the whole, because we have to understand this in order to be able to consciously use the law to create good in our lives. So if we understand that there's only one mind, and we all are a thinking center in this one mind, and that this mind is the mind of God, and that God is infinite, and that God is absolute intelligence, you can never again think of yourself as less than absolute intelligence, because you know all things, because you're in the mind of God, and it couldn't be any other way. So, first of all, you need to grasp that. God is infinite intelligence. God created us. God bestowed us with this same nature. And since there's only one mind and one substance, which has already been proven by science, everything can be resolved into one substance. And we have this infinite field of potentiality which is all around us. So it's impossible for anybody to think of themselves as not intelligent, because intelligence permeates everything. And wherever one point is in intelligence, the whole is present. It's just like the ocean, okay? Wherever there's one drop, there's the same properties, and there's the whole ocean attached to it. So any point in mind, that means any spot on earth, there's the full intelligence of God. And every point running through all people and all things. So that's omniscience. That's all-knowing God. And then we know God's omnipresent, which means everywhere present. So there's just one big vast field. And then God is also omnipotent, meaning all-powerful. Because the Word of God, or the conscious knowingness of God, is the only power that creates. There's nothing else that creates. It's an act of consciousness. So God, having all power, bestowing us with this same power, because we're in the mind of God and we use the mind of God every time we think. So this is a very important concept to grasp. So this is how, since we are free and we have volition, that means that there is no limit to what we can choose. And God, being infinite, can never be bound and be made finite. So that's why we have the possibility of evil, because people, being free to choose, do sometimes choose wrong, only out of ignorance. Nobody who was enlightened would ever seek to do evil. But it's all the use of the one law. They are just thinking different thoughts into the law, and they're producing a negative effect. And God, being good, but God also being free will, could never make us to be automatic without restricting our freedom. So that's why it might seem like there are opposing forces, but it's never an opposite force. There is no source of evil. There's no power of evil. There's only the power of God and the power of good. But it's operating through law, which is neutral. And it's no respecter of persons, and it doesn't filter anything. The law is as infinite as infinity. So anything can happen with the use of this law. So we can either put ourselves in bondage by thinking negative thoughts, or we can free ourselves by thinking in line with the truth. So that means no matter what conditions we now have, we can change them by changing our thinking. And that's the most important thing to grasp from this first section of the book. So all things are possible within this one mind, and we're all in this one mind. And it doesn't matter what conditions we now have or whatever happened in the past. We can't be bound by the past. We can't be bound by our mistakes from yesterday. We can't be bound by a false belief, because we have the power to change our beliefs. And when we change our beliefs, the old conditions and everything else falls away. And if you're just starting out, Ernest Holmes also says, don't think like you're going to have to work really hard at this. It's like water rising to its own level by its own weight. Once you start thinking right and you get these right ideas, your life's just going to automatically get better. You're not going to have to, go in and treat for every single area of your life. No, you just start thinking right thoughts, reading this book or listening to this audio book, just hearing the words, they're going to change your thinking, and everything's going to come into alignment. And it's a natural process that's going to take place, and you are totally equipped. You have everything you need. You have all the intelligence of God right now in your awareness. God's aware of you, and God's working through the word of truth, and your total and complete happiness is already guaranteed. So it's just a matter of unfoldment. And the truth has a way of just setting you free just by knowing the truth. So it's very exciting. That is the first part of this book, and I look forward to getting into part 2 very soon.